So let's talk about Beijing. This is a city on a truly staggering scale, where the blueprint of an ancient empire is being written over with a hyper-modern future. We're going to unpack how all of those pieces fit together. The name itself tells you so much. Beijing. You've got Bei for north and Jing for capital, the northern capital. Sounds simple, right? But that name has anchored this city for more than 3,000 years, right here on the North China Plain, which is really the cradle of Chinese civilization. But here's the thing, this was never just any city. Its original design was based on ancient texts that envisioned Beijing as a city-sized cosmogram. I mean, just picture that. A map of the entire universe laid out on the earth, with the emperor, the son of heaven, sitting at the absolute, undisputed center of it all. Every single gate, every road was aligned to this massive cosmic plan. Okay, so let's jump from that ancient concept straight to today's reality. The city that was designed for one emperor at the center of the universe? Well, it's now home to almost 22 million permanent residents. That cosmic center is now one of the world's great megacities.
So, to really understand this massive place, you have to start at its very core. We've got to tune into its historical and philosophical spine. That imperial heartbeat that, believe it or not, still dictates the rhythm of the city today. And right at the heart of that cosmic order is this, the Beijing Central Axis. It's this 7.8-kilometer or almost 5-mile invisible line that runs straight through the city, north to south, stringing together all of its most important historical gems. And get this, just this year, in 2024, UNESCO officially recognized it as a World Heritage Site. That's how incredibly well-preserved it is. This axis isn't just about architecture. It's built on a really deep philosophy that boils down to two key ideas. First, you've got zong, which means centrality. That's all about reinforcing the emperor's position at the heart of everything. And second, you have he, which means harmony. You can see it in the perfect symmetry and the incredible balance of the entire city layout. Walking along this axis feels like you're following an ancient ritual. You'd start way down south at Yangdingmen Gate, past the magnificent Temple of Heaven where emperors would pray, then cross the massive Tiananmen Square. From there, you enter the Forbidden City, the palace for 24 different emperors. And to top it all off, you can climb up Jingshan Park for an amazing panoramic view before finishing at the Bell and Drum Towers, the very spot that used to keep time for the entire city. So you have that ancient, straight line at the core. But from there, the modern city just exploded outwards. Today, Beijing's skeleton isn't so much a line as it is a series of massive concentric rings. Ah yes, Beijing's famous ring roads. But these aren't just highways, they're more like tree rings that tell the story of the city's growth. The second ring pretty much traces the old imperial city walls. That's the heart of history and politics. Then, as you move out, the third and fourth rings become the hubs for business and tech. And once you get to the fifth and sixth, that's where you find the newer residential areas and modern industry. It's a living map of the city's evolution. So how in the world do you move nearly 22 million people across all these huge rings every day? Well, the answer is underground. The city's subway system handles a mind-boggling 3.45 billion rides every single year. And it's no surprise when you find out that this is the longest subway system on the planet. I mean, with over 30 lines and more than 500 stations, it's the city's true circulatory system. It's the lifeblood that connects every single corner of this sprawling megacity.
Okay, but Beijing's story isn't just about its ancient heart or its massive infrastructure. If you look out in the districts, you'll find these powerful new engines of technology and art that are really driving the city's future. Let's head to the northwest, to a place called Zhongguancun. Seriously, if you want to understand modern China's ambitions in technology, this is where you have to start. It's known as China's Silicon Valley, and for very good reason. Zhongguancun is so much more than just a tech park. They call it an innovation rainforest. It's got everything it needs to thrive. It's anchored by China's two best universities, Peking and Tsinghua. It's the birthplace of tech giants like Baidu and, ByteDance, the company that created TikTok. And it's where global players like Microsoft and IBM have set up huge research centers. It's just an unbelievable concentration of brainpower. All right, Now let's do a complete 180. We're going to head over to the northeast of the city, where a totally different kind of innovation is happening. This is the 798 Art District, and its story is fascinating. It's set in a former military factory complex that was actually designed by East Germans back in the 1950s. I just love this quote because it sums up the transformation perfectly. This place literally went from making military parts and the actual loudspeakers used in Tiananmen Square to being the absolute epicenter of China's contemporary art scene. What an amazing symbol of this city's ability to completely reinvent itself. So we've seen the grand structures, we've seen the innovation hubs, but what's it actually like to live in Beijing day to day? Well, the rhythm of daily life here is shaped in a huge way by the city's geography and its 4 very distinct seasons. Yeah, Beijing's climate is really one of extremes. You get a short, dry, windy spring, then a hot and humid summer, where pretty much all the year's rain falls in just a couple of months. Winter is freezing cold and dry, thanks to winds blowing down from Siberia. But autumn is what Beijing is famous for. They call it the golden season. When the sky is crystal clear, the air is crisp, it's just the best time to be there. And that northern climate has a direct impact on the food. Unlike southern China, which is famous for rice, Beijing's food is way heartier. It's food designed to get you through a cold winter. So you're thinking wheat-based staples, amazing hand-pulled noodles, dozens of different kinds of dumplings, and all these delicious savory pancakes. It is comfort food at its absolute best. Now, this chart reveals something really important about the city today. Beijing is a maturing megacity. The elderly population, people over 60, now outnumbers children almost 2 to 1. It's creating what they call an inverted pyramid, and that is a huge demographic shift that's going to reshape everything from the workforce to social services in the years to come. All right, let's pull all these different threads together and get one last clear look at what makes Beijing so unique. First, let's not forget that geographically, the city's location has always been incredibly strategic. It sits in what's known as the Bay of Beijing, which is a plain that's naturally shielded by this huge arc of mountains. Historically, those mountains were a natural wall that protected the capital from invasions from the north. And that really brings us to the core of Beijing's modern identity. It's this dual nature. On the one hand, you have the chessboard city. That's the ancient, perfectly planned capital built on cosmic order and harmony. And on the other hand, you have the innovation rainforest, a super dynamic, future-looking hub for AI, technology, and everything that comes next. Which leaves us with one final, fascinating question to think about. That invisible line of symmetry, that ancient axis, now extends into a future of new airports and sprawling tech parks. So how does a city so deeply rooted in cosmic order continue to balance its ancient soul with its constantly advancing technological skin? How Beijing answers that is going to define the next chapter for the northern capital.